Welcome to a rather special show this week. We are doing things a little bit differently. So it is the weekly, but we're also allowing a little bit of mailbag, weekend ready. Les will come back later with the usual "it's the weekend, it's mailbag" slogan, but we are doing things a little bit differently. And part of the reason is the way the scheduling's been with the match on Monday, no game last week. We've had to change a few shows around. So we came up with the brilliant idea of doing as I said, a collaboration between weekly and with mailbag. So I will host the first part as normal, and then Les will host the second part, which will be the mailbag. And on tonight's show, it is the aforementioned Les Roberts. Les, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Looking forward to this double header. It's a Blue Room first, and it's a pleasure to be on with you, lads.
Yeah, I don't quite know what to expect. I'm sure it'll be great because of the guests we've got. I mean, and one of them guests, one of my favourites, is Paul McParlin. Paul, good to have you back as well. We've not had you on for a while. How's things with you?
Yeah, all good, Warren. And I think, as Les said, that it's great to be part of this new strategy. Being part of the new future. So honoured to be a participant here. To be honest.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. Is this a mailbag when we get to it debut for you?
It is indeed a mailbag debut for me. Yeah,
There
I've
we
been
go.
listening to lots of past episodes to make sure I'm up to speed on this one.
Well, we got to get that. That's reason to celebrate the weekend in itself, And the final, but definitely not least, member, my fellow Champman 0102 addictive partner, and no stranger to weekly and mailbag, in fact, as well. It's Good Times podcast host Liam. Liam, how are you, mate?
I'm brilliant. I'm really excited for this. I just hope that when we get a Blue Room time line up in the Denby, like they used to have at Goodison, that this is up there, just like a still of the four of us, and that's up there on the timeline next to a picture of Bill Kenwright or something.
Someone will steal that and throw it into the canal at Littlelands as well. That's still a the Bill Kenwright one. Yeah, no, it is. It does feel like that relaxed feel of a mailbag, but we do need to talk, lads, about a few things regarding Everton, because obviously we haven't had a game the last weekend with FA Cup action being on. We do return with another Monday night. I think it was Matt Jones who put something in the group saying that it's the sixth Monday night game or the sixth game of the season where we've had a game under the lights at home. And I know you yourself, Les and Dave, were talking a little bit about this on Toffee Thursday as well. But we do welcome Man United at home on Monday. It is always a big game in the calendar. I think for me, as a child of the 90s who grew up watching Man United dominate English football, I think any sort of game against them is a massive one. And we got that win earlier in the season, Les, at Old Trafford, where, under the circumstances then, a man sent off in ludicrous circumstances, and to go on and get that victory, it's always a special victory at Old Trafford. But I think we go into this one maybe not as confident, just the form Man United are in, and obviously with our home form. How do you see it going, first of all, on Monday? Do you think it does represent a really tough challenge for us?
It does, but I think it's not a must-win. Obviously, that would be ridiculous, but I think it's a big opportunity to sort of get the home fans back on side, isn't it? Because we've had a pretty torrid time all season at home. We watch everyone going away and absolutely bouncing in the away ends, which is brilliant. But it's your home form, isn't it? That you really want to nail down, and you want to be good at home, and you want to excite the home crowd. And I think the way Moyes has been playing this season, it's perfect for playing away, but he definitely needs to find something different playing at home. As you say, Man United, the division's form team. I think I checked the last 6; they've not been beaten, but the 4 wins have been bookended by 2 draws. I think one was at Burnley, and then I can't remember who the last one was. Just drawn a game as well, but both of those games are away. Both the teams sort of lower down the division, so they can be got at when they're playing away from home. It's just Moyes has got to get it right, and we may come on to this later, and I've picked up on this a few times on Blue Monday, but I think the key to this game is don't play Idrissa Gana Gueye, because I think he just takes so much away from James Garner in midfield, and I just think that could be pivotal. He's got a decision to make at right back as well, so we've got to make some changes. But yeah, I think there's a lot riding on this for the rest of the season. Somehow we're still in 8th, somehow we're still in contention for Europe, even given that home form. So this is a real massive chance, and I just hope we take it.
Liam, you're a similar age to me, and I mentioned there in the intro to the show about how big a game I feel this is personally. Like I said, when I was a kid, Man United dominated everything. Those great Man United teams of the late 90s and early 2000s who seemed to win, everything in sight. And it's always been, I think, for that reason, a massive game for us to go into, and a massive game for us to get 3 points in, which is why the result at Old Trafford was so special. mean, of course, that was only the third win there in the Premier League era. And we've got the chance to do the double over them this season. I mean, it'd be the first time since the 2013-14 season under Roberto Martinez. Is it a similar feeling for you as well, Liz? Is it a similar... I know it's always going to be... It's a big club coming to the Hill Dickinson, so it's always going to be a big game. But is it as big for you? Is this the type of fixture that you look out for at the start of the season?
Absolutely. I mean, United, as much as they might have been, not as much they might have tailed off in terms of their success in the league in the past decade or so since Ferguson left, it still feels massive because of the generation thing. And as you say, there's not that fear factor, is there? Because let's be honest, I'm sure the lads will agree. There used to be this thing in the 90s and noughties, like even if you were a couple of goals up against them, like these are not done. These are not, these have not been put to bed until the final whistle goes. But it still is a big game. And I think it's a big game because of what Les was saying, is despite the travails at home, we're still in touching distance. We're not a million miles off them. Now, I'm not saying I expect Everton Champions League place, but ultimately, after the suffering we've had in the past few years, the fact that we're coming into the spring and we're saying, look, if we can get a win against an informed Man United, we're really in contention for Europe. It feels big in terms of the mood shift of the club, because the 2020s, I know none of us anticipated coming to 2020 how difficult the decade would be generally, let alone for Everton. There's been an awful lot that's gone on in that decade. It's been the first half, it was a really torrid time for Everton. So I think it's massive. And, that good times is obviously something that I do. We do a retrospective, but if we go back 30 years, 95, 96 was a bit of a watershed for Everton. After a bad start to the decade, they made a bit of a good fist in 95, 96, but then didn't build on that. And that's why I think these games are massive, because if we can build on a relatively positive start of the season in context of the rest of the decade, then potentially we can have the building blocks for a more positive future. So I think it's a massive game, and I think any game against Man United is a pretty big game because of that generational aspect, like you say, because they were, when we were growing up first watching football, they were the biggest team in the country by a distance.
Yeah, and there is always that Merseyside Manchester rivalry that will always exist, and I think it's probably maybe not as much towards from the Everton point of view. I know there's a lot of Evertonians who always want to get one over on Man United and see it as a massive game. We probably look at the Reds as more of our bigger game, if you like. But Paul, I mean, Les touched on there the selection, and I've heard a few whispers about this from Evertonians about rejigging the side and changing things up, and Les has sort of put his line in the sand there about Idrissa Gueye. Do you think it's the time now in the season where we do reshuffle and we do rejig it, or do you think Idrissa Gueye is essentially needed in that team at the moment?
I think I'd go along with Les's line of thoughts at the moment. I think also, Idrissa Gueye's 36 now. He's played like 7 games in about 3 weeks in AFCON. And I just think that toll is starting to show him a little bit. And I'm definitely coming around to the view that James Garner kind of is a little bit more inhibited when Garner Gueye's in the team as well. So I think that's something that should definitely be under consideration by the manager, linked to what kind of formation we're going to put out as well, because when you think how underwhelming our home form has been, something has to change. It's been a long 2 weeks since the Bournemouth game, and the memory hasn't quite faded yet. And it really is incumbent upon the manager in terms of his team selection and tactics to give the fans something to cheer about. Because, as you mentioned there before, but Matt has said we've had 6 Monday evening kickoffs, and the Monday evening kickoffs, I don't know what you guys think, but they just don't do it for me at the moment. It's such a disruption to your routine. It seems to be every home game more or less, and the team really need to give the fans something to get behind with. Now, it's brilliant the 1878 is going to be doing another display, so hopefully that might kickstart a bit of the action as well. But I also think I think one of the criticisms of our new stadium has been a perceived lack of atmosphere. Now, this is one of the games which traditionally Goodison always had atmosphere. It was always a bear piss of the game. So I think it's a good measure on Monday evening to see how the new stadium stands up to that test. Can it be as intimidating an arena as what Goodison Park was in the past? And for that to happen, I think we have to score the first goal. And I also agree, kind of with the points Les and Liam been making there as well. To me, this is a free hit, because I think not many Everton fans expect us to win this game. And to me, it sets up for a classic David Moyes performance. The fans won't mind us sitting back in this game Whereas we do mind sitting back when you're playing Bournemouth or Wolves and Leeds. So it's an opportunity maybe that we can sit back, take up a bit of pressure, and then maybe start to impose ourselves on the game. So I agree with what Liam said. I think this is a really pivotal game for Everton. I don't think we can stomach another home defeat at this stage of the season. And given how tight it is in that mid-table between 7th and 12th for those European places, it's a game we really can't afford to be dropping points in.
I do want to come back to that idea of the clashing styles, if you like, because I think you're right. I think that it could suit Everton in the way that we play. We could almost play like a away team at home on Monday, but I will come back to that, Les, because I do want to come back to the point that you made earlier about the selection at right back. It seems that until we do actually get to the summer and sign a right back, we will be talking about this on every show possible. And I think it's we kind of don't want to because we've done it to death, but you kind of have to, because Jake O'Brien, as we saw in the Bournemouth game, got himself sent off in a pretty poor play all round. I think the ball was given away early on, and then the ball's gone in behind, and Jake O'Brien's not quite read it correctly, brought the Bournemouth player down and got himself sent off. So Moyes is going to have to deviate from his what you'd feel would be his number one choice at right back with Jake O'Brien, and he's going to have to do something different. He's talking in the press conference today about Seamus Coleman being fit and available. I'm not sure that I'd like to see that, particularly that, in the corresponding game, he came off after about 10 minutes, didn't he? And that's not against Seamus. I just think if we're going to have one 36-year-old on the pitch, we don't need two, if we've got a Idrissa Gueye on there. But I'll just see it going. I mean, are you thinking Nathan Patterson? Are you thinking that he's even going to maybe stick James Garner in there? I'll just see it going.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think the obvious choice is Patterson because, for all his faults, let's say, we've never really seen much of him, and a lot of that has been due to his injury record. He's had a really shocking injury record since he's been at Everton, and then he's not been tried by a succession of managers, which probably tells you all you need to know, perhaps about his ability and what he's like in training and stuff like that. But he is a right back, and we've seen when he's played, even down to the last gasp of Bournemouth away at Brighton. When we came on and we looked a little bit more attacking for that 5 minutes that he was on and we got the equaliser, the side looks more balanced. The defence looks more balanced. It gives the wingers more of an option of someone to play down that flank with. I think Jake O'Brien, he's getting worse and worse and worse playing at right back now. You can see he doesn't want to play there. He's looking less and less comfortable. He's a young player, and this could be impacting him quite badly, really, because it's going to be knocking his confidence, getting stuck out there all the time. It's not a position he wants to play. It's not a position he's playing well now. So, although the sending off was a bit of a disaster, really, although we played better, to be honest, when we went down to 10 men, weirdly. But do you know what? One thing I will say about that was I think James Garner had a lot of freedom on the pitch at that point, and he really came into the game then, because I think he got stuck in the sort of right back place, but he wasn't staying there. So he kind of had the run of the pitch, like Paul said. Garner seems to playing next to Idrissa Gueye inhibits him. But if he's not going to play Nathan Patterson, I think that's the writing's on the wall for him. He's gone. He's probably gone in the summer anyway. Don't want to bang on about this one again, but I would happily stick James Garner out there. I was looking back before we played Bournemouth, I was looking back at the team for the corresponding fixture, where obviously we got that brilliant 1-0 win. James Garner was playing right back on that occasion. We had the midfield of Keenan Dewsbury-Hall and Timur Abunam playing in the middle there. Now, I would happily drop Dewsbury-Hall back into the middle there. Could slot Charlie Alcaraz in that 10 position then or something like that. And I think whoever you play next to Dewsbury-Hall, he will sort of carry them through the game. So we've got young players, potentially we could put next to him, we could put Mailbag or Harrison Armstrong. He could carry both of them through the game, I think. Ideally, though, I think I'd sooner play a flat three in that midfield. I don't like the 4-2-3-1 anymore. So I think Dewsbury-Hall, maybe Armstrong and Roll, a combination of them. I think across the middle with Garner at right back, I'd be happy to see that. And I think it will balance the team out a lot more. If you play and die on the right, it'll give him someone to sort of attack with down that flank. Plus, James Garner can get some really good crosses in from the right-hand side. So that's what I'd go for if we're not going to play Patterson. If we're going to play Patterson, I'd want to see Garner, Dewsbury-Hall and or Roll and Armstrong in the middle. But I think we all know what he's going to do, don't we?
Yeah, it's a compelling case to try something different, I think, because as Paul said, the home form has been that poor that it's almost like the onus is on David Moyes now to try something. And I think that the option of a James Garner at right back, there's so many options in midfield now with players coming back fit. Timur Abunam, Harrison Armstrong, Charlie Alcaraz, Mailbag, Roll. That's just 4 players who could easily slot in, I feel. And I had Rob Vera on with me last week, and Rob was very, and Rob has been, saying about this for a long time. He wants to see what some of these players can do. We know what the tried and tested can do. There's no risk of relegation. What can these, newer players like a Mail and Roll do in a situation against the Man United, and are they suitable for Everton going forward? So I'd like to see that as well, if I'm honest, Les. And I mean, just looking at it, Liam, I mean, I think that we touched on it a little bit before. This could be an ideal game for Everton, couldn't it? Because I know all the talk is about the home form. I know all the talk is about Man United and how they're the informed team at the moment. But I just feel with Michael Carrick, sooner or later, that's going to come to a halt, because it's gone so well. But it's kind of that old school new manager bounce, isn't it? That's helped them so far. But this could suit Everton in the sense of, we've gone away from home and we played really, really well, and we've got one of the best away records in the country at the moment. And the reason being is, I think, is because when the onus isn't on Everton to be on the front foot as much. The onus is on Everton to, I don't want to say sit back and soak up the pressure and defend, but I think at home there is that pressure. And then when you're playing a Fulham or a Forest or a Bournemouth, you want to see us attack and go for it. And I think we're not always able to do that. And I think there's more of a understanding when you play against Man United or a team of that caliber, that you can maybe just absorb things a little bit more and play a little bit more, maybe counter-attacking, maybe, sitting off and waiting for a chance to pounce, maybe sitting off and picking them off and stopping them in their rhythm. So it could suit Everton in a lot of ways, couldn't it? Even though it will be a difficult game.
Absolutely, I have to agree. Some of our best performances this season have come with when we've not had the majority of the ball. Paul and I were both lucky enough to be at Villa Park a few weeks ago when we were absolutely outstanding. And I was lucky enough, I've only been to 2 away games this season. I was lucky enough to be at Old Trafford, where even with 10 men, we're outstanding. We started on the front foot that night. And I agree with that. And I think in part, it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's a bit of dichotomy of that. Naturally, the teams that will have more of the ball have the better players, but actually in some respects, they give you a bit more opportunity because they come out at you. And I think when you look at Everton's team, there's some good players in there, but there's no one who really breaks the lines. There's not as many particularly incisive players. Dewsbury Hall somewhat, but there's not a playmaker in that team, I would argue. And actually, that means that when teams get set and deep against us, it's harder for us to break them down. Whereas if United come and try and play on the front foot, as we would anticipate, it will probably leave them a bit more open. Because you look at it, Kobbie Mainoo, who's come back into the team, and it looks frankly bizarre that Amram wasn't using him for years, doesn't it? Because I remember seeing him in his debut with Goodison. He's impressed me every time I've seen him since. But you wouldn't say he's necessarily an anchor. And Casemiro is in decent form, but we've also seen throughout his United spell, he goes through kind of fits and starts, doesn't he? Where he looks the player that was at Real Madrid, and other times where he looks really cumbersome. So hopefully it'll be the latter. But I think although there are really good players there, it's not like they've got someone of Carrick or Keane's calibre of yesteryear. And with that quality we've got in midfield, although it might be as incisive, with that bit more space and time, it can do some real damage. And I think to that point, I agree with Les about the 3. I actually think this could be a really good game to get Harrison Armstrong in because of his tenacity and his energy. I think he'd be really well suited to it. And I think the biggest compliment I can pay him is he doesn't play like a 19-year-old, does he? He plays like a much older player. Like against Bournemouth, the shock to the system of the shape was a poor decision from Moyes, but it wasn't Armstrong's fault. Armstrong actually played quite well when he came on. It was just we decided to abandon a shape that was working. And it still makes very little sense in 82 weeks on, as Paul says. It's not. I think sometimes you think, oh, it's been a couple of weeks, you let it go. It's just got worse with time. But actually, I genuinely think that it could play into our hands, as you say. And, we are going to be tested quite a bit. And to go with Les's point, I would like to see Nathan Patton there. I've spoke on this show before. I'm not convinced he's someone who's got a long-term future at Everton, but the key is that balance he brings to the team when he's in it, because he's actually a right back. It's little things, the way he opens his body up. And I think on reflection, it's even more important nowadays because a lot of the time, and I know we're probably not going to play Tyler Dibble on Monday, but most teams play with inverted wingers. So if your fullback is also kind of tucking in because they're not naturally a fullback, you make the pitch so much smaller for yourself and give yourself an awful lot of problems. And I think, although Patton might give us balance, Leslie Shelter Garner might not be terrible because of how good United are on the flanks at the moment. Obviously, if Cunha, who's in pretty good form, is playing off the left, as he has done quite a few times, rather down the middle, if Sesko's playing, as much as Patton's a more natural right back. I think James Garner's got the savvy and experience to maybe keep him a bit quieter. Insert the curb theme here next week when that doesn't pan out by all means.
Well, I mean, it is a big decision to make, because I think the team selection has to be right. And I think there's a bit more pressure on this because of the home form and how it's been. But one player I do want to talk about, Paul, is Tyreek George. When I went to the Fulham game the other week, and I thought that when he came on, I wouldn't say he changed the game, but just having someone with his directness and his speed in a wide area helped us massively, because we played very narrow that first half. And then once we brought him on, we went a bit wider, we created a bit more openings. And then, with things like the goal that Dewsbury Hall scored came from a position of from a wide area. And I look at this game on Monday, and I think that, how are Everton going to go about this? Do we go a bit more narrow and play a Harrison Armstrong? And I think I tend to agree with Liam that a Harrison Armstrong in a wide central position, if you know what I mean, not hugging the touchline, but kind of playing a lot more narrow, will possibly suit us more against Man United. I think if we go open, that's when United could hurt us, because they are decent in possession, they are decent on the ball, with the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo and other players that they've got as well. But on Tyreek George, he was gifted the start against Bournemouth. I didn't think he did too bad. Is he worthy of another start, or do you think, Paul, that we should do the Harrison Armstrong, the Charlie Alcaraz thing, and maybe go a little bit narrower against the Man United team?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point about Tyreek George, because like you, I thought he showed some decent touch in the first half, but I also got the impression sometimes he was making the touches as though he's playing for Chelsea, expecting someone to be there and anticipate the pass. And with Everton, that just doesn't happen. He did one flick in the first half where he kind of just stood there and thought, why is no one read this? Well, why is no one going for it? So yeah, I can definitely see a case for him starting the game. I mean, I always like the idea as well of maybe, if you start somebody that United haven't prepared for, it might just give you a slight edge. I don't know. It's something to consider as well. And I think it's quite fascinating at the moment, the way that I think Tyreek George already has kind of knocked Tyler Dibling down the pecking order a bit as well, which kind of begs the wider question of what is Tyler Dibling kind of long-term future, Everton? Because it's quite obvious the manager really has questioned his attitudes, questions his ability, and questions his contribution to the team. So, and the fact, if you've been signed on a full-time contract and you're losing your place to a lone player, I think you have a few questions there, don't you, to ask what is going on. To me, on Monday night, I know we talk quite extensively, Les, Liam, and yourself all mentioned, it's the midfield to me is the key area on Monday evening, and what formation we go with. It's interesting you mentioned Charlie Alcaraz there, Warren, because he's another one who's kind of got off the radar this season, because arguably towards the end of last season, he was one of our better players. He was contributing with a few goals as well. And for whatever reason this season, he hasn't kind of figured in the manager's plans. So it'd be interesting to see whether he's going to get a look in or not. I kind of agree with the full-back situation that Les outlined there as regards James Garner. Certainly could be in contention there. And you look at Nathan Patterson and think, well, he's got a World Cup place to be playing for. So surely if he starts the game, he's going to be trying to make his best possible contribution to the team as well. So that'll be quite an interesting dilemma. And I mean, to me, two things worry me about Monday night. One, the pace of Mbeumo, because I've still got nightmares from Thiago for Brentford a few weeks ago. And the thoughts of Mbeumo one-on-one with Tarkowski does fill me with horror. And secondly, how do we deal with Fernandes in midfield? Are we going to close him down? Are we going to give him space? Because that, to me, is where the game's going to be won or lost.
That's why I believe, and I think he may go for an Armstrong and Alcaraz or Merlin Rose, someone else maybe in that sense. And I'm sorry, Les, I do think it just again will start, because I just think for him his combative nature, he'll play him. Yeah. I would like to see something different, but I just feel that'll go. Just going back to Tyreek George though, Les, what's your opinion of him? Have you made? I know he's only had 2 games so far, but do you think he's made a difference?
Yeah, just before we go on to him, we are all ready for Michael Keane at right back, aren't we? By the way, this is going to happen. Anyway, yeah, Tyreek George. Let's move on from that.
We know who to blame if that happens on Monday, if the team comes out.
He said it, didn't he, on the club website? He said he had a chat and he said, started out at right back. That was on the socials this week, and someone meant to mention earlier that get ready.
So we anticipating a back four of Keane, Tarkowski, Branthwaite, and Mikalenko. Is that what you're saying?
Prepare yourselves, lads. It's
God.
on. Yeah. Right, Tyreek, let's move up the pitch quickly. Yeah, I really like him. He gives us something that we've not got, which is pace, and just that ability to really beat a man. So as good as Grealish was in that position, he was a very, very different type of player. And although he would get you up off your seat, it wasn't in the way that a player like Tyreek George does. Just to Paul's point about Diblin as well, he's only 2 weeks older than Tyler Diblin. So that's an even bigger sort of incentive, or I don't know, maybe a disincentive to Tyler Diblin to sort of say that he's been pushed out the team. So I guess it could be a masterstroke by Moyes to sort of pull that player out of his shell and spur him on, or it could backfire and he just completely retreats back into himself. But just on George, yeah, like I said, I think he's a really good option because he's lightning quick. He's very on the front foot. He'll attack the fullback, which is not something we've had in a long time. As good as Ndiaye is, he's fast over a few yards. He's got really quick feet, but he's not going to burn a fullback off, is he? So I would definitely like to see him start. And if nothing else, if we are under pressure, players like him and Barry as well to an extent are just a good out ball, just to hit it up long. So I'd like to see if we are in that position. I'd like to see if Ndiaye does drop back and defend, because he's pretty good at doing that as well. If we can keep Barry and George up front, Barry and George, God, I keep saying that. There was a pun last week about Barry George and Fulham, which I won't go into. But yeah, that would be the out ball. The long ball to Barry to flick on to George. I think that could be quite a good counter-attacking method. But yeah, I'd definitely start him. I think he did enough against Bournemouth. And the weird thing of Bournemouth as well was that Moyes stuck with those substitutions, even though we conceded. Now, normally your manager sort of goes, okay, just sit down for a minute. How many times have we seen players this season get up, warm up, nothing happens in the game, and they sit down again? It's happened loads. And then the one time when you think it's probably the right time to do that, just reset, lads, settle this down. He made the substitutions and carnage ensued. So, yeah, I think a long way of saying, yeah, I like him and I think he's worth a start.
Yeah, I'm torn on it. I think he'd be a great option off the bench like he was at Fulham, but I think a lot will depend on how Man United set up and how they do. But it should be a big test for Everton, and hopefully it is an example of where we can turn this home form round. I think it'd be absolutely amazing if we got a win. And like the three of you have alluded to, we are still somehow in 8th position. I think a win just gets us talking again about confidence in terms of heading up the table rather than, mid-table consolidation. But either way, to be talking about Everton in any sort of European competition or contention, this late in February and this late in the season, I think if you'd have said that to me in August, I would have absolutely bit your hand off for that, because that to me would have represented a really good season. So quick score prediction then before we move on. I do want to talk about the rest of the league, but quick score prediction. Les?
Let's go 2-1 Everton, eh?
2-1, Liam?
3-1 Toffees.
Oh, Paul?
I'm going to go with Les's 1-2-1 Everton.
2-1. I've got a feeling, for a good old-fashioned 2005, dogged, backs against the wall, 1-0, scruffy goal, header goal from a corner, defend for our lives in the last 10 minutes, win the game. 77th minute winner, something like that, 1-0. So I'll stick my neck out and say that. But yeah, hopefully, as I said, Everton can get back to winning ways, especially at the Hill Dickinson. I think the fans are desperate. Us Evertonians are desperate to see a home win. I do want to talk a little bit, because as I say, we haven't had much Everton really in the last week with no game last weekend and a bit of a break between the two games now. I think it'll be almost 2 weeks, Ronit, since the Bournemouth game. But there was quite a big game on Wednesday night, Liam, Wolves and Arsenal. And I think 2 weeks ago, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that Arsenal were going to win the league. And it's quite spectacular, really, what's happened there, isn't it? I mean, everyone talks about the bottle jobs that Arsenal are, but they're starting to get a bit rattled, aren't they? And I think it's made for an absolutely fascinating title race again.
It could do. I've got a feeling that Mikel Barm Tetters, a few lads have started calling him. I've got a feeling that every time he looks at a picture of Guardiola, he hears like the Jaws music. Like he just knows that they're just there lurking behind them. I think the good thing is it makes it an interesting title race, because I do think City 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be convinced, yeah, this is a nap. I still think that it's a bit more of a flawed City, so there's going to be more twists and turns. I'm just grateful that it doesn't involve twists and turns with our friends across the road, or formerly across the road, I should say. I really wasn't surprised by it, though, because I've watched quite a bit of the game. And one thing that has surprised, I've noticed what our season is, they're not great to watch. They're quite, for all the expense and all the players they've bought, they're quite functional, they're quite drab, and they often play at the best when Mikel Moreno, who is traditionally a holding midfielder, plays up front. I suppose you can take the boy away from Moyes, but you can't take the Moyes out the boy. I need to work on that saying, but maybe
with current events, the way things are.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is Mikel might be guided by his former manager somewhat with some of his tactics, but
work on that one, Liam. But I know what you mean.
We'll work on it. Yeah, it's more about the spirit than the delivery on that. I think ultimately it was really telling. It might actually be the making of them, because it might be the kind of kick up the backside they need that they're going to kick on. But what I thought was really noticeable was how petulant they were. They were playing for time at 2-0 and 2-1 up, when really, this is a poor Wolves side. They have more than enough in their army to put to bed. And then even the way they reacted to the final whistle with Gabriel Jesus not kicking off, it seemed unconvincing to me. And I think it's a real big test of Arsenal's mettle, because in the past, they had a big lead in 22-23. There's always an anticipation that City will have too much. But I think this is the first season Arteta and Arsenal have had where there's kind of not an expectation that they should win, but as the weeks have gone on, people going, well, yeah, they will win the league. They will win the league. And as you said, I think particularly after United beat City the other week in Carrick's first game, I think we're all thinking that's it. That's the end of the title race. So it will be interesting. And still have a big part to play, because I wouldn't put it past this version of David Moyes to go to the Emirates next month and get a result, to be honest with you.
Well, that's it. I mean, the game at the Emirates for us now, it's all of a sudden turned into a game where you go, oh, it's going to be another one down at Arsenal where we just surrender, a couple of goal lead and we just petered it out until the final whistle. But the way it's going and the pressure that Arsenal are under all of a sudden, yeah, it could be interesting. I don't know if any of you saw the Wolves TikTok. I mean, I'm not on TikTok. I just saw someone share it. But it was, for those of you who don't know, it was the basically highlighted all the moments where Arsenal basically wasting time. So anyone who went down injured, they were down for 2 or 3 minutes. They had a corner and someone ran out to take it. Then they ran back in. And so they were just highlighting all the moments where Arsenal deliberately delaying the game. For me, look, to win a game, I don't care how you do it. If Everton were winning every game, playing boring football, it wouldn't bother me. If we were in contention for the league title and we were playing the worst football imaginable, I wouldn't care. It's about winning ultimately. But I do think you do need that little something special. You do need that little bit of extra something, that little extra sparkle to win a title. And I think Arsenal just at the minute look like they're lacking a little bit of that. City turning up the heat. I mean, I don't know what you make of it, Paul, because I think that for me, watching City at Anfield, when Liverpool went 1-0 up, and we've got to say it was a brilliant free kick, wasn't it, by Szoboszlai? But I just thought this is typical City at Anfield again. It's just going to be a regular, Liverpool win here, and title race is over. And the way City got back into that, felt like there was a little bit of fate, a little bit of, I don't know, even destiny about it. The way that they come back into that, and they really have turned the screw up, haven't they? They really have put the pressure on now.
Yeah, I think that win at Anfield was hugely significant for all the reasons you just outlined there as well, Warren. And I think like you, when Liverpool went 1-up, that's it. It's City on coming back from that. So I was absolutely quite pleased when they did come back and still managed to get the 2-1 win. And you could argue that was kind of the pivotal point of the tie race up until now, because certainly Arsenal could have gone even further clear. The City had lost, and plus the psychological impact of losing that game as well. So yeah, it definitely turned the balance. And you could just see from City's reaction, from the fans, the players, the confidence, the boost that win had given them as well. And like Liam, I watched most of the Wolves game on Wednesday. And one thing was going through my mind, I mean, I remember the United play, we talked about United of the 90s before, didn't we? And one of the things Ferguson used to always bang on about was goal difference. You've got to make the most of goal difference. It could come down to goal difference. And I'm watching Arsenal think, you're two up against Wolves. Why are you sitting back here? You've got Wolves on the ropes. Go get a third, get a fourth. But they just seem quite happy to sit back and see the game out. I just find Arsenal incredibly boring to watch. It might just be me, but football dominated by set-piece goals just does not do anything for me. And I particularly enjoyed the Brentford game the other week when Arsenal got out set-piece by Brentford, who are the original masters of the set-piece as well. You couldn't cope with the long throws and stuff like that. And I will watch that Wolves TikTok, because the amount of time waste Arsenal went through towards the end there. I mean, when Trossard went down holding his head, and he watched the replay, he didn't touch his head, it was his chest. So why is he rolling around in agony and going off with a head injury? I have no idea. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good we've got a title race going again. I'm still not totally convinced City will win it, but it's good to have a title race again. And wouldn't you love it if we went to the Emirates and came away with 3 points there? To quote Kevin Keegan, I would absolutely love that.
That's, for me, it's one of them grounds, Arsenal, and one of them teams, a bit like Chelsea, where I want us to, of course, I'd love to see us win an Anfield every year, or Old Trafford. That'd be incredible. But it's about time Everton started winning at a ground like that, at an Emirates or a Stamford Bridge. And I'd love to see us, like a couple of you mentioned there, and go down there and get a victory. That'd be a really good away day. Just briefly before we finish, let's go on to the main event, which is the mailbag. I do want to ask you about the other end of the table as well, because it's been an absolute barn cake of a season for Forest, hasn't it? I mean, look, we know all about Sean Dyche, of course we do. We know all about what he was like when he was with us, and I don't know. I mean, for all the negativity that you can talk about Sean Dyche, he does kind of give you that stability. And I think when they sacked him, to me, it was like, when you had that, I think it was like 18 games where we didn't win when he was our manager. And I remember listening to you and Dave actually talking about it and saying, if we did actually have a board or someone in charge, he'd be sacked now. And this was obviously prior to the Friedkins coming in. And he kept the job, and he steered us to safety, and we were fine in the end. And despite all the negativity and the not winning and horrible football and all what you want to call it, but even with all that surrounding Sean Dyche, to sack him and then bring in Pereira, that's a massive gamble for them, isn't it? Just at a time as well when West Ham are starting to look more of a threat. The players they brought in January look like the decent players and have got something about them. They're starting to go into games now with a bit of confidence. Leeds seem to me like they're pulling away and they can get a result as well out of anywhere. They don't seem like they're going to struggle as much, and Crystal Palace, there's talk today, isn't it, about Glasner going, but you just feel with Palace, they've got enough quality. I think it was an extraordinary decision, and the fourth permanent manager this season as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me is that the Forest owner didn't put himself in the manager's job, because that seems like the next logical thing to happen, doesn't it? He's
stole my line, Les. I was going to go there when the question comes to me. I'm surprised he hasn't done that.
Very harsh against the United, isn't it? What's going on there?
But that's the thing. It's like, I think West Ham, they're sort of hitting a bit of form now at a good time. So if you can go into the spring period, down about, as we've seen ourselves, into the spring period, put a run of 3 or 4 games together to win, you pull yourself right out of it. Leeds are an interesting one because they always flap it at the end of the season. They always really tank towards the end of the season. They've done it in the Championship when they've been clear at the top and they've just about got promoted, things like that. So I think now I want to watch Tottenham. We don't know. I mean, their manager has had about 10 clubs in 10 seasons. So, I mean, he can't instill anyone with confidence. Their players look like, they just throw the towel in, whatever.
I didn't even bring Tottenham into the equation. So Tottenham remind me a lot of us when, not necessarily when we were facing relegation, but when we had those couple of seasons where we just spent a load of money, it wasn't working, and then it was the start of the rot. That's what it feels like Spurs are to me at the minute.
They're like Everton, but less gargantuan, I think. Basically, I think that's the thing. So yeah,
sorry to interrupt one more time, Les. Really interesting. Talking about going down to the Emirates, we've got Spurs on the last day of the season at Tottenham as well. Yeah. Which, if things are going the way they are, that could also be very. I mean, I think they'll be out. I think they'll be fine by that point anyway, and I think it'll probably end up being a nothing game. But imagine a scenario where we need to win to get into Europe and they need to win to stay up.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Palace are probably just out of it on 32 points, but then Forest are on 27. So if they're still in it, I think Palace are probably anyone up to Fulham are still in it in 12th, which includes, and Liam, I'll pass over to you now if you don't mind, Brighton.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be great. A relegation on Fabio Hurst's CV would be enough for me. Yeah. James Milner, beating Gareth Barry's record with half the minute with all these sub-appearances. Not that I'm bitter about that sort of thing, but and getting relegated for the second time, unlike Gareth Barry, he was never relegated. Would be... Well, no, third time, because you've gone to Villa again. No, second time, apologies. Yeah, I think it is interesting. I actually think Spurs in a spot of bother because got some fantastic players, but I don't know if they've got anyone who's got experience of a dogfight. And it sounds mad because you think quality would tell, but this is about mentality rather than technique or tactics, isn't it, at times? And I think they're in real trouble because they've got a lot of injuries. There seems to be a lot of drift, and I'd never wish relegation on most clubs apart from Liverpool and Newcastle. But those of you who listen to me on Good Times will know for those reasons. Generally, I think a lot of Everton would agree with me. But in all seriousness, I actually think, in some respects, if they were to go down, it wouldn't be, in the broad scheme, a terrible thing for football, because there's this notion where they're the Sky Six. They're in the big six. And it's like, well, why people go on about that? And I think if you look back historically, the so-called big six didn't finish as the top six together until 2016, 2017. Someone might correct me on that, but that's my understanding. So I think from that perspective, that culture shock could be a good thing, especially for us. We're trying to kind of break the status quo and get ourselves back up towards the upper echelons. But I think they're in real trouble because one thing we've seen, and we saw it in 21-22, where we started really well, but the downward momentum we built under Lampard and Benitez, it's really hard to arrest, even when you've got good players. And then you start like tweaking things tactically. And from what I gathered, Tudor, who by the way has done really good work, even though he's had a lot of jobs, he feels like he comes in as a bit of a firefighter, but does his remit in terms of got Juve to the Champions League, did well at Marseille by all accounts. But he plays a 3-4-1-2, and I don't see how Spurs players fit a back three. That was a problem Antonio Conte had with a lot of the same squad. And we've obviously seen the problems it caused for Man United in the past 18 months with Ruben Amorim. And with their injuries and the setup, I'm not convinced they've got the players to even necessarily play the system he wants. So I think they're in trouble. I do probably share your view, Warren. They'll probably have enough to get away. And I think the chaos that's engulfed from Forest could see them just sink below, because it's just a free-for-all. It's just like you don't know what's going to go. It's the sort of place you wouldn't be shocked if you went to a Forest game and there was just a gunshot up in the air. But, there's just absolute chaos reigning, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. It's a bit of a mad place at the moment. But the one thing I can say is it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Compared to like the last few seasons where it's been, I mean, I was glad it was uninteresting last season because it had been far too close for a little while. But in the last two seasons, the promoted teams have kind of sunk without a trace, haven't they? So it probably is only going to be the last space, because I think Burnley have left themselves too much to do. But even there, winning Palace means they're not 100% dead and buried yet, which is a bit of a departure from what we've seen in the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, it is going to be, I mean, as things stand, it is interesting, and hopefully it maintains that, because I think, football hasn't been as interesting in recent seasons. But one thing I will finish on before we move on.
Just one last thing about Tottenham. I mean, don't forget, last season, Tottenham finished 17th last season. So if you put that into the equation as well, the only I know they were safe points wise, but position wise, they weren't in a healthy state. So I definitely think that there's a loser mentality in that team, and I think, as both Les and Liam mentioned before, it's whether they've got the bottle or the desire to get out of that situation.
Yeah, definitely. I just worry for Spurs. I think they'll be fine, but I just worry for them because there seems to be some chaos there, behind the scenes, and obviously that's showing itself on the pitch. But I will finish off by saying, for all this talk of chaos and teams being balmy and things going on and all this, isn't it great it's not us? Because it's been us for the last few seasons, isn't it great? And this is why I say,
don't jinx it. Do not jinx it. If any teams get close sliding down.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because, you know what? To actually be sitting in eighth and be disappointed that we've lost at home and still sitting in eighth, it's lovely to be in that position, and hopefully we do kick on. But I am going to leave it there for the weekly this week. To give you an idea of the momentum shift in this show, Liam started the show with a cup of tea, and he's got 2 cans next to him of lager, which he's going to now have as we go into Mailbag. Oh, sorry, not lager. He's got Thatcher's Gold. I do apologise, Liam. So I'm going to swiftly move on and throw you over to Les, who's going to introduce this week's Mailbag. Les?
It's the weekly. It's Mailbag. Hey, do you like what I did there? Nice one, Warren, for the weekly there. I'm gonna put this vibe shift down. So it's probably like going from Carlo Ancelotti as manager to Rafael Benitez. But we'll see how Mailbag.
You're being nice.
I'm gonna do Mailbag a big disservice there. Come on.
It's going from Vitor Pereira to Lampard. It's going to be funny, but it's going to be grim as well.
Yeah, we'll go with that then. So yeah, joined by Warren and Liam, and making his Mailbag debut, Paul McParlin. Paul, you've got an event coming up with the Everton Heritage Society. Do you just want to let everyone know about that before we kick off?
Yeah, it's this coming Thursday at the Denby Castle. I'll be in conversation with Lewis Royden, talking about our last ever league title win in 86-87. So I'm not sure there's any tickets available, but there's definitely a wait list there. So have a look. Go on the Everton Heritage site and get more details there. But it's Thursday, the 5th of March at the Denby. So that's a week on Thursday.
Yeah, brilliant. And if you've not got Paul's book, do buy it because it is brilliant. I think it's very much like that championship winning team, like you say, is the forgotten champions. And it just goes into everything about that season. It's incredible. Right. We will carry on with the Red Hot Sock Chat because Stephen has asked, what type of wide players would you target in the summer? We could feasibly start next season with no Grealish and then die. Would you look for similar or target more pace? Paul, I'll come to you. Sorry, you're taking a drink. I'll come to you first on this anyway.
I'm fine. Would I look for a similar pace to Grealish? Possibly not. No, I think we need more pace. I think the two requirements we need of wide players next season are: one, more pace; two, the ability to cross the ball as well. So that's definitely what I'm looking for. And I'd add a third to that. I'd like to have a goal-scoring winger as well. Someone who had a few more, just get a few more shots on target and create more chances for it, and put a few more in the back of the net. So, yeah, I wouldn't want a similar type player to Grealish. I mean, Grealish has been superb for us. He's good the way he holds the ball. I mean, he's good the way he's a focal point. But I just think in the modern game, you need fast, wide players, and I think the club needs to work on building partnerships between the right side defender and the right side forward and the left side defender and left side. But at the moment, we just don't have that at all. So that'll be my priorities.
Yeah, Liam, that's a great shout, isn't it, about the partnerships thing? It seems like no one can really form a partnership with number 16, sadly.
No, we touched on it, didn't we, in the weekly? You know, like at one point, Tyreek George plays like this unbelievable pass, and Michalenko's just like, I just stood there like, oh, am I meant to go for that? Am I? God,
Michalenko even pointed.
Yeah, he pointed. I mean, to answer the question, why players should we target? I would just avoid players on the left in particular whose surnames begin with M. So no Michalenko, no McNeil, just people who, like Paul said, can run and can cross. I just think they're quite basic staples, aren't they? Let's just get a time machine and go and get Pienaar and Kanchelskis back, and they'll be fine. Yeah. Just have Pienaar cutting in on the left for the big creativity, and Kanchelskis just causing chaos down the right hand side. I think pace is something. I know we touched on with Tyreek George here, didn't we? I think pace is something that we lack as an outfit, because even Tieno Barry's not that fast. We don't have fast players. In fact, to be honest with you, probably the only genuinely fast player you've had in the past 5 to 10 years at times has been Damari Gray. We've really, and Theo Walcott was to an extent, and even then, you're saying they were fast, but there's a real big caveat, aren't there, on what they bring to you. So I'd be going for pace and direct play, and I agree with Paul about the crossing, because I actually think Grealish has been brilliant, and I would like to see him back, but I'd like to see him as a 10. I want, and he did a bit. I know he set up and Dye's goal in the first home game against Brighton, but I just want wingers who can kind of get to the byline. I feel like it's going off the game a little bit, but it doesn't even have to be crosses in the air, but just put the ball in the box and have like people making third man runs. Just get, goals only happen through getting the ball in the box, don't they? I don't think teams do that enough, because if you get the ball in, a deflection, a ricochet, on goal, anything can happen, can't it?
Yeah, that's a good shout, that about just getting the ball in the box. So you said about Grealish there, and his sort of stock in trade is cutting inside, but that goal for Ndiaye against Brighton, he just got into the box and just hit it as hard as he could across the 6-yard box, and it causes chaos, doesn't it? Warren, I think a lot of this comes down to a lot with what happens with Ndiaye, to be honest, because if he goes, that's probably 2 wingers we need to get. Would you go for pace on both wings, or players that can cut in, or players that can switch? What would your ideal wing setup be?
Yeah, I think pace seems to be the thing, doesn't it? I mean, this type of question annoys me, not because of the question being asked, but there was once upon a time when I knew every single player that existed in European football. I haven't got a clue anymore. My knowledge goes to players who were born in the 80s and who were, like we talked about earlier, who play on Championship Manager 01, 02. Before we signed Tyreek George, I had no idea who he was. Before we signed, you hear all these players who are linked with Chelsea every month, and I've got no clue. I've never heard them. I wouldn't know them if they walk past me in the street. But to answer the question, I'd like to see us with some pace. I think pace hurts teams, doesn't it? And I think the way we play with the counter attack a lot of the time, I think pace will get fans off the feet and get us excited again. But I'm going to stick my neck out. I think Tyler Diblin's going to have the season next season. He's going to be the breakthrough. Finally, we're going to sign a player who turns out good. It's going to happen. So yeah, it's looking more increasingly. I think that I don't know. I think Everton might play hardball and not resist any offers for Njai this summer. But if we get a big offer for him, I think it's kind of one of them. I think if you, as much as it would hurt to see him go, I think reinvest that money and sign, a couple of 3 or 4 off the back of that and build on that again. I love him, Njai, but I think that we've seen before. We've had, dare I say, better players leave us, and we've been fine. So yeah, I wouldn't be massively against it, but obviously rather than mistakes, I think he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think the fact we signed for 15 million, we're going to get way in excess of that for him. So
at least, isn't it? You'd think.
Yeah, if
all that we've wanted for years, though, isn't it, to actually profit off the players? How many players, particularly in the first part of Mashiri, like your Schneidlins, your Cenk Tosun, your Klaassen, you buy them for over 20 million quid, and then they just go for nothing or next to nothing. It's not nice, but the only way you really progress as a club is by having that model. I know it failed in the end at Leicester, but for a few years when Leicester were on the cusp of getting the Champions League and they won the FA Cup, was because every summer they'd sell them with Maguire or whoever, and that money would go back in to reinvest in the team.
Yeah, just on that then. I'll just pick that up then. So it does come down to, like, we probably need to reset our expectations for Everton, don't we? And sort of reassess where we are in the football pyramid. Because it feels like at times that I think Paddy and Matt may have picked up on this on the byline, that we're not in for players like Bournemouth and Brighton are, because we kind of think we're a little bit above that. They go in for players that no one's ever heard of. They've got no Premier League experience. They go in and they hit the ground running and they're fine. Whereas we're sort of picking players on Premier League experience. Paul, you've seen it all with the Toffees as an adult. I've only seen the good bits as a small kid. But what do you think on that sort of, like, resetting our expectations about where we are? Because we're not where we were in the 80s. We dropped off a lot in the 90s. We never really recovered properly. Do you think that's something we all need to do as a fan base and a club?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm still traumatized by our declines since 1987. So it's been so totally unexpected as well. I mean, I think obviously I prefer where we are now compared to where we've been the last three seasons when we were an absolute basket case club and couldn't attract anybody, and we were just scuttling around the loan market, bringing in anybody whose agent had a phone connection with Mashiri. But yeah, I think the problem we've had this season, and the problem we will have until we qualify for Europe, is we're not going to attract that top level player. Now, I think it's quite interesting the point you made there about Bournemouth and Brighton as well, because I think in Brighton's case in particular, and I know Everton been looking at this as well, they seem to call the South American market that no other Premier League team seems to be able to get in and pick these players. Look, they picked up Caicedo for Bolton's that ended up selling for £80 million. João Pedro, another one they picked up as well. So they're really good at identifying young prospects. But it's not just the fact that they identify them. They have a pathway for them. So they say, right, you sign for us, we'll send you on loans to Belgium for a season. If that works out, you come back and you play for us. Or if it doesn't work out, we'll send you back to Belgium for another season. So they kind of like clear pathways for players to develop. We don't have that at the moment. So, I mean, and I'm pretty sure the club's looking at maybe extending the multi-club ownership model so that we have that option to give younger players as a way to attract them to come and join the club. But status-wise, yeah, I mean, for people of my generation, Everton are always a big club, far bigger than Tottenham are. But sadly, for the younger, for the younger generation, for the son's generation, they see Newcastle clubs like that as being bigger than Everton. I just kind of get my head around it all. So, yeah, I think there does need to be an acceptance of we're not the Everton that particularly our parents grew up with, and we need to readjust our kind of aspirations and ambitions because of that. However, I would say now we're in a unique position whereby we've got the new stadium, we've got the new owners, we're not under threat of PSR or any stuff like that anymore. So it is a real opportunity to create like an Everton version 2 for the 21st century, and it's one we have to take. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think as well, good point. Liam, come to you on this. We'll just keep the Red Hot Soccer Chat going for a couple more minutes. Yeah, I think the ground's a big thing, isn't it? So we talked a lot in the week on other shows about the ground. But I think this is the time where we sort of need to reassess what we are as a club, what we are as a team, and build a new identity and new memories for me. This, like Paul said, this is a perfect opportunity to sort of maybe leave the past behind. Don't forget it completely, but let's move on. Because like the old Everton, it was far from perfect. So maybe make a new one.
Yeah, I mean, what we could do, and it would forge a new identity, and it would solve your biggest problems. Call ourselves Hill Dickinson FC. Then you can say, well, actually, the name of the stadium is the same. It's the same as the team. We just call ourselves that.
Might as well.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think one thing that they have done, although they need to make the ground feel more Everton. I actually think one of the more symbolic stuff, like leaving the statues at Goodison and stuff like that, that speaks to an understanding they need to do that. As much as we should always celebrate our heritage, and I agree with having the Everton way, and that we really should. But the idea is, well, actually, you know, the Holy Trinity and Dean, they made their bones at Goodison, and that's where this statue is. But we leave room at Dickinson TM, we leave that there for, you know, a statue of Jake O'Brien. I'm being facetious when I say that, but I think there is a little bit of that mindset there, but we just haven't seen quite enough of it yet. And there's always going to be that tension between old and new, isn't there? You know, ultimately as well, especially when you're not successful. I mean, for years, Arsenal probably struggled with the Emirates because a couple of seasons before they moved to the Emirates, they were the Invincibles and they won the league. And then they went on this, they've been on a fallow period ever since, where they haven't won the league. I know they started winning FA Cups in the 2010s, but ultimately, I think when you're not successful, that actually creates a bit more tension on the stadium, doesn't it? Because it's like, well, have we sold our soul and we still haven't got anything? But actually, one of the biggest problems we've been so focused on the past. And this is Rich coming from the co-host of the Good Times Everton podcast, which is a retro podcast for those of you who haven't had a spare hour or 12 to check out our episodes. But as a club, we need to move forward. And I completely agree about forging a new identity, but it's getting the balance right, isn't it? Because we say that on one hand, but then on the other hand, we don't want ticket prices to increase. We don't want to embrace the consumerism of the game. And it's really tricky. I would never pretend to have all the answers. And actually, as much as, you know, I think the Freakins have got something wrong, I think they've got other things right. And I think find that balance is really, really tricky. And it's not going to be easy because, you know, we want to dine at the top table, but unfortunately to do that, there has to be a dilution of your soul. And I don't know how comfortably that sits with me, but hopefully we find a way. But I agree with you. Just generally, we need to find a new way forward, don't we?
Yeah. Just to finish on that, then, Warren. Big summer coming up on and off the pitch, isn't it? For Everton, I think the Freaking, you know, it's been teething problems this season, and you're gonna get that. It's like I said on Thursday, that when you move into a new house, a new build, you get a snag list. It gets sorted eventually, just when the builders can be asked getting around to it usually. So it's like Everton have got a snag list with the new ground, got a snag list with the team this summer. Big chance to put a lot right, because like Paul said, there's no jeopardy, there's no PSR jeopardy. We're in a reasonable position, probably going to finish mid-table, maybe in Europe. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. I just keep going back to how I felt pre, during and post that Bournemouth game when we stayed up on the last day. And I think that season, and then obviously the 10-point season as well when we lost them, I think that was, you know, there's the saying, isn't it, about football not being, football's the most important of the least important things. And for a long time over those 3 or 4 years, my mind was cabbaged just worrying about Everton. And to the point where I was getting really stressed about it, you know, because I was worried about everything going on with the future, the club, are we going to get relegated? And as frustrated as we get, particularly with the home form this season, it's, for me anyway, it's been so nice just to not have to think about the stress of that. And I know we want more, and I know we're desperate for success, and I know it's been too long since we've won anything, but I just think you can't go from the extreme we were in to then all of a sudden, you know, climbing up the table, winning things. It's going to take a certain amount of time. And I think where that has been exasperated, as well as the fact that we've moved into this new stadium, every team who's moved into a new ground always struggles. It's just a fact of life. It's the adjustment period. It's getting used to the new surroundings. For the fans as well, it's getting it to feel like home. You know, you've built up 133 years at Goodison. It's not going to happen in 6 months at the new stadium, but we'll get there. And I think you're right. I think we can't look at it any other way than being excited by it, because we're going to get money to spend again. We've got now a board who are entwined with or interlinked with what it's like to be a modern big club in the 21st century. We're signing all these mad commercial deals. We're bringing in money from outsourced areas that aren't to do with what's on the football pitch, and we're behaving like a big club should. And I think Liam makes a great point, is that you want all that because that leads to success, but you've got to find the balance to, you've got to your point, sell your soul a little bit, but it's how they find that balance and us going forward. But look, purely on a outside looking in, on the football pitch, what's happening, it's going to be a really good summer, hopefully, and it is going to be a big summer, but a big summer that's not been like the previous big summers, because we seem to say it every year, don't we? This summer's massive. This summer though is kind of one without the stress or the pressure.
Yeah.
Or sorry, a good stress or the pressure, not a looking over your shoulder. Oh my God, look who's coming up. They could threaten up.
Yeah.
It's now of, right, can we? And I could see us. I may be massively wrong with this and tempt them massively, but I can see us doing a little bit of I see us similar to Villa, and I think the way Villa have gone about the business in recent seasons, I think we are capable of that if we manage to bring in the right players and we manage to do the correct thing. And I think this season we have started doing that. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah. I can't handle another big summer. I can't handle another watershed because I'm still not over the Port Vale 1996 watershed. But we'll move on to Matt Jones's question, who has asked, in anticipation of the big double header later. Everyone's so excited for this. If you're not aware, you are in the double header now, by the way, if you're listening. Who is the best and worst player to have had two separate spells at Everton? There's a lot to go on. Warren, I will come back to you on this.
Okay. The best player to have two spells, I'm going to go for Landon Donovan. I think his second spell wasn't as strong, but I still think he offered so much in that team during that short spell. And I think the fact that it was such a short spell rather than, half a season, I think that probably helped. He might have faded away as the season went on, but I think I'll go for him. Worst, maybe I'm being slightly harsh with this, but why did Peter Beagley come back to Everton? I mean,
that was my one. That's what I was going to say.
Oh my God!
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, everyone's second answer's gone.
Is that everyone's? Was it? I'm glad we came to me first and led on that. I mean, that in '98 when we almost went down, and that game at Arsenal when we got beat 4-0 and they won the title, I honestly think I was only 9, 10, whatever. No, I was a bit older than that. I was about 11 at the time. I honestly think if I'd have been on the pitch, I would have done better than Peter Beagley. And that's quite a big thing to say because I am exaggerating a lot there, but I'm kind of not exaggerating either. I'm kind of being serious. So yeah, that was a shock on return.
Yeah. Best one?
Best one, Donovan.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course. Liam?
I'm going to base it on what I've seen, not historic stuff and whatnot. I'm going to go for Pienaar. Because when he first came back in on loan second time, I'm in 2012, 2013, he was good. I just loved watching him as a player. He was he was such a good footballer. And I think what I liked about it is when you listen to interviews or you hear a lot about him was he left thinking he was going to better things and then he couldn't wait to get back. He was like, no, I love Everton. I made such a big mistake. I remember hearing a story from someone I know who knew on the kid, and a friend, one of those, and he said, as Pienaar was leaving, this fella said, it won't be like this at Spurs, you won't get the same thing. And Pienaar was like, yeah, all right, mate, so I'm going to go and play the Champions League for 5 minutes. But anyway, that's an aside. But apparently,
that was one of those moves, wasn't it? Sorry, that was one of those moves that suited nobody. And you could see from the start, it suited no one at all.
They gave him number 40 as well, which was just an automatic. That was a problem from the get-go, and they never changed that. And remember, they used him for like 5 minutes in that cup tie. And back in the day when cup tie was a thing, and it isn't now when Man City are buying Mark Gabe, which is... Yeah, but he used him for like 5 minutes and that cost us a final, didn't it? Anyhow, not that I'm bitter. But apparently when he came back, he sought out this member of the staff and said, no, you were right. Like, the way I feel about this club and stuff, how much it meant to him. So I'll go for him in players I've seen. And I know Matt is the judge of this, but I'm kind of going to break more of his rules just to dig out a player I hate because there wasn't a break in his two spells. But I despised Joe. I absolutely despised him. I hated them. And I was made up when he decided to bunk off for Christmas, which is basically what happened, wasn't it? He just wants to go back to Brazil, which I don't blame him. We had Burnley at home on Boxing Day. It wasn't exactly like... No, sorry, on the 28th. We had Sunderland away on Boxing Day. So yeah, Sunderland away and then Burnley home. Wasn't as great as the Copacabana. But I never liked him. I never thought his attitude was right. And I think we were really lucky because we were after him in the summer of 2008. We were lucky we didn't spend the money we ended up spending on Fellaini on Joe, because he was just wasn't good enough at any point for me.
Yeah, no, that's a shout. Paul, what are yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Landon Donovan and Stephen Pienaar are really good examples of players who've been brilliant both times they've been at the club. I'd go with Liam. I say Stephen Pienaar. And I think as well, generally, when a player comes back for a second spell as a club, it's either because A, they failed at the last club, or B, because they're so much older and they can't cut it anywhere else and know they'll get a deal at Everton. So for Pienaar to come back and be, to me, as good second time as what he was first time, I think is brilliant. I always remember like Gary Neville once being interviewed saying one of the reasons why he retired was one time he played against Everton and Pienaar and Leighton Baines absolutely did him the whole match, and he said after that I just can't play at this level anymore. So that kind of gives you an example of the impact Pienaar had. So I'd go for Pienaar on that one. Right, Fader's got a 12 half an hour on this one if you give me time.
Go for it.
Okay, well, for those who are the same generation as me, in the 1970-71 season, we had a brilliant young player coming through called David Johnson, who's got all sorts of firsts for Everton, first Derby goal, first European goal, first second. Brilliant prospect. And for some reason, we then sold us at Ipswich Town and we got Rod Belford in part exchange, who probably makes Thierry Barry look like Mbappe. You know, he was absolutely awful. So we then brought him back 13 years later after he'd won all sorts of trophies with Liverpool. Howard Kendall brought him back, and he was just an absolute shadow of his former self. So he's definitely up there with one of the worst players we brought back for a second spell. I'd throw Fanny Jefferson there. I mean, I just think his second spell was so underwhelming, because when he first left us, I think we all thought this is a player who's going to settle in Arsenal, who's going to go on and achieve great things. And once again, it didn't work out for him at Arsenal. It certainly didn't work out for him when he came back to Everton. And he's another classic Everton case of a brilliant young prospect who got sold on by Everton, didn't quite succeed elsewhere, and then come back. And bit of a controversial on this. Would you throw Wayne Rooney into that discussion as well?
I would say he's one of the better ones for me. I think when he came back, he was our best player.
Yeah.
And if the games lasted an hour that season, he'd have been the best player in the world, because up until an hour, he was brilliant.
Yeah, although I do feel it was very funny the way the club just jibbed him off. Very much in the same way.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed that, but I did think he was pretty good, and he scored one of the best goals I've ever seen live as well. That West Ham goal. Incredible. But yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna go back to the 80s, Paul. I'm loving having you on here because we can go real 80s stuff. John Wharton said Howard Kendall. Now, I suppose so. Won everything as a player. Did all as a manager as well.
Because he did have about 7 games as player manager in the 80s. I think you came to the conclusion that the midfield was so bad he'd actually do better by playing himself. So if you compare them that versus the Kendall with the Kendall won the league, yes, definitely. That's a good shout from John.
Yeah, and another one from that era, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I don't remember him second time round, but I know my dad adored him first time round, as did everyone who saw him in the 70s, was Andy King.
Yeah.
Now, he scored 11 in 44 when he came back, which is a pretty good return. What was he like when he came back?
Well, he was good, but he wasn't as good as the Andy King we sold, which basically what it comes down to. Yeah, I mean, Andy King at his peak when he first joined us from Luton Town was absolutely superb. He was the heart of the Everton team. He had skill, he could score goals, he was competitive. And when he came back, he just we would love a midfielder now who could score 11 goals in 44 games. But don't forget, when he came back, he's competing for places with likes of Peter Reid, Paul Bracewell, players like this. So I think he was good, but Andy King version 1 is the one in my memory because to me he was the one shining light for Everton fans in a dire period towards the end of the 1970s.
Yeah, and I think for me that probably nails down that Stephen Pienaar's been the best because there was nothing between the two spells, was there? He came back and, like you say, Liam, he was just as good. It was just Pienaar, like version 2, but was just as good as version 1, which is very, very unusual. Right, I think that's a lot of the soccer chat out the way. So we're going to move on to a couple from Chris. that I missed off last week. Not because I forgot to do them, because he missed the cut-off for the show. So the first one from Chris is unacceptable interests as an adult. Are you a Lego nerd? Liam, I'm going to come to you first. This is a fellow comic book
wonder why. I wonder why.
Are you a Lego nerd? Do you still watch the wrestling? Liam, I'm going to say comics and superheroes are very acceptable as an adult. I'm just putting it out there.
It was my birthday, my 39th birthday in January. And do you know what happened? One of my best friends bought me the Lego version of the Tumbler from the Dark Knight series. And do you know why it caused the problem? No, do you know why it caused the problem? My sister had also bought it for me and had to send it back to get me a different present at the age of 39. And you know, one of the things she got me is this water thing that I've been drinking that's a bit blurred. But look, 39 years of age, it's got the bat signal on it. I use it all day. I work in a reputable job and that. I'm sitting there in these important meetings going, So you can't see the bat symbol whilst I'm drinking my water and I'm staying hydrated. I'm sure everyone who listens to Good Times knows I've got thousands of comics in my house. I know I feel like I say it on every podcast. You've had the fortune of meeting her. I've got the most understanding and brilliant wife in the world. And a big shout out to you. You did one the other week. Our dear friend Ben Hathorne, he got me a wonderful gift. He got me the Batman 89 soundtrack on vinyl, which I think is going to answer one of our questions later as well, isn't it? It's going to be an answer to one of our questions later, which we'll come back to. But yeah, I'm a massive comic book nerd. I'm just a massive nerd, I suppose. But you know, what I will say is, and I can say it because Kev's not here, I think wrestling is stupid, and I've never understood it. And I likes it can just go swivel in my book. And I feel like Warren's going to come at me, but I don't care.
No, I'm not. No. I used to be into big time, but no.
I never got it. I never got it. I never understood it. It was Batman and it was Everton.
You definitely grow out of, yeah. No, I think. Do you know what? I'm not as big a nerd as you, Liam, but I think being a nerd is brilliant. I think it's harmless. You know, with Tom, you're not offending anyone. There's far more worse things to get involved in this world than comic books and Lego. I have never understood Lego. It's just never been a thing that I've been into.
I love Lego.
But I'd have to say gaming. I still game heavily. I say heavily. I'm not a heavy gamer, but I remember visiting my mate in the States, and he was big on, like, if he ever had this bit of spare time, do you want to come and have a game of Fortnite? No, I'm not playing that. I'm an adult. I'm not, kind of turning my nose up at him. And I'd be sitting there next to him while he's playing. He'd go on, just have a go. And I haven't gone as far as buying, they call V-Bucks, which is like, and it's like the currency in the game. And I haven't gone as far as buying them so you can buy like characters and things like that. But I will sit and play for a good hour or two on Fortnite. And I've had half term this week and I have been playing a lot on my PlayStation this week. So I'll say gaming is acceptable as an adult. One thing though, as good as it is being a nerd, have you ever seen these videos of people going to Comic-Cons and like you're training about the wrestling there? There's people dressing up as these wrestlers, going to the actual wrestlers and speaking like them. And I think if that was me, I wouldn't know where to look. I'd cringe out. So as good as it is to be a nerd, maybe not that much of a nerd.
Yeah, I'm scared of heights. I'd be a terrible Batman. I'd be a terrible, terrible Batman. I'd have all comics. I'm terrified of heights. Just be hitting people at bus stops and running off.
If I was Batman, I'd be like where Luke Skywalker puts the stormtrooper suit on and Princess Leia says, "You're a bit short for a stormtrooper." That'd be me if I tried to be any stormtrooper. A little superhero, Paul, you got anything?
Yeah, have to confess to being an absolute Thunderbirds nerd. It was just my
nice, good stuff.
Just my favorite TV series of all time. I've got all the episodes on DVD. I do watch them regularly. Brilliant story writing, brilliant script, brilliant concept. And I have to say, I've never got over my crush on Tintin either. That's kind of lasted for 50 plus years, But Thunderbirds, absolutely superb series on every level. And just always been a massive, massive Thunderbirds fan, and it's never left me.
What's your favourite Thunderbird?
Thunderbird 3.
Oh, see, I'm 2.
Is that the rocket?
Yeah, because Alan Tracy went to space, and also he was Tintin's boyfriend, so obviously he wants to be Alan Tracy.
Yeah, I like Thunderbird 2 and Thunderbird 4. Both kind of go together, don't they?
Yeah.
My dad tried to force me on the Thunderbird so badly. He was like, he wanted me, because the toys would come on when I was a kid. He was like, "Do you not want a Thunderbird 2?" I was like, "No, I want a Batmobile, or I want the X-Men. I want a big man. I don't want a Thunderbird."
Yeah. Do you remember the madness when Anthea Turner made Tracy Island on
Tracy Island? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I tried it once, it didn't work.
No. You just went, just going by the real thing. It's easier. Yeah. I think it's a great show, Paul. I was obsessed when I was a kid with Thunderbirds.
Thank you, Thunderbirds.
I like the way on Thunderbirds 2, Thunderbird 4 would come out the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to Stingray at this point as well. Used to love that in the summer holidays.
Too much Alan Hansen.
That was Captain Scarlet.
That was Captain Scarlet. Yeah, no, Stingray was
in the name, isn't it? Scarlet. You know, it's
I'm getting
Captain Scarlet, mate. Right, Chris, other question.
Just go back there, Les. Stingray's a brilliant shout because that's the last black and white version of a Jerry Anderson series that it was the precursor for Thunderbird. So if you watch Thunderbirds closely, you can see some of the ideas have been trialed in Stingray first as well. So that's a really good shout.
See, love this. Jerry Anderson talk on Mailbag. This is what it's all about.
Long overdue.
Right, Chris's other question was, cast each other as a character in a soap opera. Who would have made a good Jimmy Corkill? I'm gonna go Damon Grant, but not a cop-out. So maybe I'll just rule myself out of this one. Paul, are you casting one of us in a soap opera? Who?
Okay, is this for Brookside? Is this solely?
Anything, whatever you want.
Oh, anything. Well, I mean, it's right. Sticking with the Brookside thing. I mean, you've got the beard there, Les. So that kind of screams Jimmy Corkill to me. So
Jimmy Corkill.
I can see you rocking that look quite successfully. To be honest, Liam. I mean, you're heavily into researching, studying stuff like this. You know, you probably know the version of Sam in Coronation Street. If that means anything to you.
The little lad.
Yeah.
Boss. I'll take that.
Liam, I'm thinking Max Farnham.
Max Farnham. Oh, right. I think Warren's definitely got. If we're going back to Brookside again, he's definitely carrying off the Barry Grant look. I think that the definite elements of Barry Grant there because
I'm not enough to be a Barry Grant, but I'll take it.
No, because I mean he organised all these raves in the 90s and stuff like that as well. He had the musical background also, and he obviously with you being a teacher, some of the kids don't want to mess with as well. So there's that kind of hard edge behind the scenes there as well.
I'll take it.
I could also see you standing on a yacht shout. We won our club back. So do you know what I mean?
Les, just make my shout about you. I was going to say. I can see you.
Liam, how many times has this happened to you over the course of these shows? Right, Liam, we'll come to you next then. Any other soap characters apart from Barry Grant, maybe?
I'm going to go for I don't think there's any offense to because he strikes me as a ladies man. I'm going to go for Paul as Ken Barlow because he's learning. He's a ladies man.
I'll take that, Liam. Yeah, absolutely. But he's been married 7 times.
Got a little bit of both of him. Can't think who else I'm going to go. I'm going to say just to cause trouble, I'm just going to say Warren's Chesney, just because I don't know. Just want to cause trouble. And
extreme, isn't it?
And if we're looking at Les's, I mean, and as a fellow member of the Patchy Facial Hair Club, but looking at Les's like mustache in this light, I'm going to go for Seth off Emmerdale, who used to have like the chops in like.
Oh, God, to do that, yeah. Seth Armstrong, I'm having that. I've got the hat collection to match as well.
I'd definitely wear a deerstalker coat as well and look cool in it, wouldn't you? You'd wear that sort of coat.
You wait to see tomorrow, mate. I'm there, yeah. I'm going to dress to impress tomorrow, mate. Warren?
Well, Liam, you've got a kind of a Steve McDonald look about you. So I'm going to go for Stevie McDonald. And then Paul, Paul, you're such a great fella, and I mean that genuinely. I'm not taking the piss when I say that. You're such a great fella, and I always enjoy when you're on the show and talking to you. But we'd love to see maybe a bit of a dark side. So if you were a soap character, I'd have you playing Richard Hillman, just I like that. You know, just to see that difference. And then Les, I'm going to stick with the Coronation Street theme here because. Again, I'd like to see a complete opposite of what you are actually like. So I'm going to give you the hard-nosed businessman in Mike Baldwin. I'm going to give you them and get that Cockney accent on. But do you know what? Another thing as well. Obviously, Liam and Les, one of my colleagues, Millsy, the Reading work.
Millsy?
Who loves
You
it,
know
by the way,
Millsy?
whenever we take the mick out of him in the group. So just to bring everyone up to speed with this, Millsy's a colleague of mine, he's a big red, and I got the lads in the WhatsApp group when we played him in the derby to just send voice notes in, just giving him absolute hell. And whenever anything bad happens in like current affairs or something bad happens in football, Millsy always takes the blame, and you don't even know who he is, but he always takes the blame. Anyway, he's got a subtle look of Dean Gaffney. So we always, when we're taking the piss, call him Dean Gaffney. So he would be, I think it was Robbie Jackson, wasn't it, his character? And we always say, where's Wellard? So he, just to go off, and I don't want to know who this is, but it's more of a private thing. But Millsy would be Robbie Jackson of EastEnders. But yeah, I'll go with that. Steve Mack, Richard Hillman, and Mike Baldwin, you three for me.
And Millsy, we know where you live as well, lad.
And also, just to cause
okay.
trouble, let's say Dargan's going to be Barry Evans, just to dig out Dargan for no good reason.
Yeah, might as well. Paul, if you're Ken Barlow and I'm Mike Baldwin, it's going to be a straightener at some point. So
Absolutely, yeah,
absolutely.
Come on.
The thing is, though, it was never really a straightener, was it? Ken Barlow just always used to chin Mike Baldwin. He'd always just throw a haymaker at him.
He'd always do it when Mike Baldwin was least expecting it as well, But you don't mess with Ken, he's put other people to the ground in the past as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be on my guard next time you're about, mate, definitely. Right, Liam. Oh, Christ, we're on the stadium. Question, Ari, the stadium. Should we have Everton branded on the seating at this stage? And more to the point, why don't we? EFC or 1878 on the south stand. Liam wants us to jib this question, but I'm going to go with it anyway, and we'll quickly whip through it. Liam, we'll come to you first. Do you think this is important? I think it needs to be more Everton, as we've gone into.
Yeah, I think it is.
Quite a lot.
What do you think? I think there's a quick fix. I think the south stand is big enough to have boo written on it, but like several O's. just have a giant boo written across it. Everyone will know where it is when they see that. Oh, the booing. That's them. No, I do think it is, and I think it's such an easy win because it happens at every club, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You think back to the 90s, like this sounds mad, but the noughties, you're able to do like the Umbro Diamond, or I know our friends, the Grand Rouge, have done like the Nike tick. If you can do that, you can just cobble together a little bit of an EFC, can't you? It's not hard.
Well, didn't Big Red have the Reebok thing as well? Because that's a tricky one to do that.
Carlsberg as well.
Yeah, it is.
Carlsberg.
Yeah, they did. And by the way, on that point, I haven't worn Reebok since 1996. I stopped wearing it at 9, and I just decided that's it. And I haven't worn a thing in 30 years, and I'm proud of that.
You've not missed out because you've not worn Reebok since peak Reebok Classic.
Oh, no, but the thing was, I was 9, and I told my mum.
Yeah,
I had to tell my mum about the 100 quid's worth of jumpers that I had in my wardrobe, by the way. They're no good this coming winter. They're on the outs.
See, the day before winter as well. Nightmare. Paul, what do you reckon on this?
Yeah, I think, as Liam said, it's an easy win for the club, isn't it? Give the stadium an identity, because it lacks an identity, in my opinion. So I think club insignia, anything like that makes it look more Everton, makes it look more home. Particularly when you think the stadium is going to be used for more non-football events, it's a great opportunity. To hate to use the word, expose the brand, but it's a real good marketing tool for the club as well. Me going back to things you said there about what's happened at another club with the branding and stuff like that, I'd absolutely be open arms if someone thought it'd be a good idea to have a Castore branding on our seat. I think I'd send my season ticket back and discuss if that happens.
Yeah, imagine being sat on one of the white wings. Oh,
you get it wrong as well. They'd have like one of the wings, bongy or something, or they'd spell Castore with a D or something. That shoddy, they'd mess it up.
Or the white would just peel off the seat.
Or they give the Umbro Diamond. We've got the wrong license. You're going to have Umbro kit now. The Umbro Diamond on the stand.
Shoddy. What are your thoughts on this?
I'll keep it quick because I know there's loads of questions to get through. I loved at Goodison the touch of adding like pictures of players on the concourses and little stats and that. I'd love to see that done more around the ground. I think that was a really nice touch. It's not going to affect what happens on the pitch or how we get a result, but I just think adding them little touches, making it feel like home. I'd love to see more of that.
Quite a bit in the lower south, Like there's Kevin Campbell not far from my entrance. He's a really cool one. He's celebrating when he scored the Anfield Derby in 2000 because in that 1-to-1 kit, the awful Puma kit. But there's a big picture of Kevin Campbell on the wall.
Yeah, I'd love to see more of that all around. But yeah, anything to help, anything to make it feel more like home. I think that'll definitely help things go forward.
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly to sort of tie it back to something we said on the weekly as well. Matt did an interview with Megan from The Athletic, and she was talking about Goodison Park being a bit of I think she said a floating ghost ship, which I thought was a great turn of phrase to the men's team. So it's still basically as it was left when the men's team left, even like she said, the big picture of Jordan Pickford staring out of the press box, things like that. So that needs to go. So to go back to the weekly, it's a big summer for the Freakins. I think they probably need to do a lot with Goodison and a little bit with, I'm going to call it Everton Stadium. Anyway, moving on to Dan's question. Is Hill Dickinson Stadium living under Mr. Burns' sundial? Will we ever see a kickoff in daylight ever again? We've got a couple of chances, haven't we? We've got the Derby and City,
and Sunderland.
And Sunderland. But Paul, I'll come to you. It's doing us in this, isn't it? It's taking the spectacle away from the night games, and it's not doing the team any good because our record, I think, as AFC Stato put out, it might have been after kickoffs after 4:30 is 19% win ratio. Before 4:30, it's 49. It's not been great for anyone, has it?
It's not been great for teams, it's not been great for the fans, no. And I can't see. I'm convinced the City and Liverpool games are going to get moved anyway, so they could well be night time. So it might well be. Because even Sunderland's not the final weekend of the season, is it? So that's not guaranteed to be a 4 p.m. kickoff. So there could be, depending on where we are, the way Sky builds these, the challenge for Europe, the battle for ninth place. They'll find some reason to maybe shift the time as well. And I think we've just been really unfortunate this season with like 9 teams being in Europe. It's meant lots of those teams, because they have European games in midweek, aren't playing when we're playing on at the same time as well. So that's creates the problem. And I think also as well, I think the TV commentators love our new stadium so much compared to what Goodison Park was like. I think they love the prawn sandwiches. I think they love the facilities. I think they love the cushions. And so I think that they're saying, let's do Everton on Monday again. Let's do Everton on Monday again. So maybe we need to turn the heating off, give them sardines instead of prawn sandwiches, and maybe might be a bit less inclined to show us every Monday night.
It's amazing what a bit of leg room does, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Stretch out a little bit. Oh, it's lovely, this. Liam, it's a problem, isn't it? I mean, it's doing my head in. We want more Saturday games, don't we?
Yeah, it definitely is. I was so invested in Arsenal against Chelsea in the League Cup because I was like, I want Arsenal to win because I'm so excited for us to be stood outside the Denby on a Saturday night and a nice spring night. Hopefully, it's nice and dry. It's starting to get back to normal. What I would say is, though, and this is a really niche Simpsons reference from my dear friend Warren here, but the players are playing like they've got it's like Howard gets under Mr. Burns' sundial. So I think there's definitely a lot of it. And also, that is, I know I always quote it, there's a thing, sorry for the Simpsons nerds, that's the episode where Mayor Quimby's made aware there's a lot of people stroking guns, and I feel like that's the sort of atmosphere Everton at home is at its best. People be irate. So yeah, it does feel like we're trapped under the sundial, and I want just a few more weekend games because, these midweek games, I do think it is impacting the atmosphere, and I don't agree with people getting off like when Jake O'Brien got sent off. But also, although I don't agree with it, I understand why they're doing it. Although I think the funniest was did people start getting off before the second pen against Sunderland after we missed the first? I was like, I can see where this is going. And it kind of all feeds in, doesn't it? But yeah, we do need to some. Look, some of the best days there have been against Palace and against Brighton, probably to say. And they were sat, and Fulham and Forest. They were all like decent time kickoffs where people could enjoy the weekend. So there's something to be said for it.
It's coming to something when we're hankering for a 2:00 Sunday kickoff here, isn't it? Because I absolutely hate that kickoff time.
No one's ever asked for that.
No, but I'd take it all day now.
I'd take 2:05 anything.
Yeah, yeah. Warren, as an exile toffee, this must be hitting you particularly hard.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to Forest and Fulham on the basis of I'll go to there's another game I'll be able to go to, and it's so frustrating for me because with work and everything I just can't do it. So yeah, it's horrible, but it's the social aspect as well for me. And Liam's put it quite right there. The Saturday game, it's everyone works hard all week, everyone has a graft all week, and I think that's not lost on supporters having that carrot at the end of the week to enjoy your weekend. And football plays a massive part, and it does form a lot of people's social lives. And I think that the fact that that's been taken away from us has just led into a lot more of this idea about, it's not great playing at home at the minute. All the transport issues as well. It doesn't help when they're happening, after an 8 o'clock kickoff as well. So, yeah, it's very frustrating. I'd like to think, I know the fan advisory board do a great job. I'd like to think that, or I'd hope, that something's been put forward to the club and the club actually fight for us a little bit next year. I know TV companies have to say, when you're taking all the money off the TV companies, you can't dictate, if they want to pick a game, they'll pick it. But I'd like to think that there'll be some request there. Look, you've had us on 6 Monday nights. Can we please think of the fans here? Can we have a few more Saturdays? Or, I mean, even I know Chelsea's on a Saturday now, but even 5:30, it would have been nice, just a couple of Saturday 3 o'clocks. I think that really helps. So yeah, fingers crossed next season there's a lot more weekend games that we can look forward to.
Definitely concur with that. Liam's got another question here. We just need a simple yes or no. This one, I think that'll do. He said, "Les, forget my stupid seats question from yesterday. Sorry, mate, we've done it. Here's a better one. Coleman goal v Leeds, did he mean it? He always maintains he did, and he's not that kind of player to pretend he's too self-deprecating for that nonsense. He says he did. That's good enough for me. Simple yes or no. The Leeds goal, did Seamus Coleman mean it? Paul?
Yes.
Liam?
Yes.
Warren?
He looks up before he shoots and he sees the goal open, yes.
Yes, that's a clean sweep. He definitely meant it. Right, Ian's question now. Hi, guys. Hope you're well. We all good?
All good, Ian. You're well, mate.
After seeing Moyes' celebrations on the pitch at Brighton the other week, what's the best or worst manager celebrations there's been? Liam?
I'm going for best. This is really niche, but in 2013-14, Spurs played Benfica in the Europa League, and they had a manager called Jorge Jesus, and when it went to 3-1 or 3-0, he just put 3 up and just shook his head at Tim Sherwood, went 3 like it's done. And Tim Sherwood comes over, and then in the press conference afterwards, when he got asked about it, he said, well, Lizal, by the way, was number 4, scored, so I was just celebrating his number. It was just such a blatant lie. But like at one point when they scored, he's going, he was just doing this thing. He just spent the entire night goading them, and I just had like all the time in the world for it, because there was no needle or anything riding on the game. That's why I really liked it. It was like, this is just quite a bland Europa League game, and you've just gone, you start to give it the big one. So I always wanted Everton to give him the job after that, based on no tactical information or anything like that. Just he seems like a bit of a prick, so I'm all for it. So I'm going to go with that just for a niche one. And worst, I don't really want to reap this up, but when Daz Butte ran onto the pitch, remember Jamie Carr's like, oh, look at him, he's on the pitch. David Moyes gets booked for that. It just knocks me sick, the hypocrisy of it all. But I won't pull at that thread too much, because it's a painful one, that one.
We can all probably agree on Daz Butte, though, can't we, as being the worst?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Warren?
So the best, without a shadow of a doubt, is David Pleat running across the pitch.
The best and worst, if you ask me.
No, it's not the worst.
Terrible
I'll tell you for why it's not the worst, because I've got 2 for the worst. And two similar managers with personalities that very punchable people, these next 2 people who I'm going to say. Firstly, Alan Pardew's little dance after Palace scored in the final. No, sorry, not having that. And the second one is Phil Brown when Hull avoided relegation, getting the microphone and singing. I mean, if you want to talk about 2 youths in management, it's them 2. And just finally, any manager who goes up to a group of supporters and does the 3 fisting, that is the worst by far. So
I've noticed Frank Lampard does that, but he never did it with us, did he?
No, he knew his place.
Yeah. I take a lot of comfort from that. Paul, what have you got?
Yeah, I'd agree. I was going to say what Warren said there. Alan Pardew's dance moves in that FA Cup final. Yes, still gives me nightmares. That one does as well. And technically, it's not the worst celebration, but that FA Cup tie when we beat Tottenham 5-4 and we score, and Carlo's there just sipping his coffee, as like all his tea, as if nothing's happened, and the host, all the everyone was so screaming away because it's during COVID, wasn't it? But and he's just there, so we scored now. Whether it was the worst or cool, I really don't know. In terms of best celebrations, I agree with Warren's. example there as well. But going back a bit, I'll give two. Going back a bit further, Sunderland 1973 FA Cup final, Bob Stoker running across the pitch to hug Jim Montgomery at the end of the game. Superb celebration. And I hate to say this, but you've got to give Graham Souness credit for when he was Galatasaray's manager. He plants the flag of his club there in the centre circle after the win away Fenerbahce. I mean, that takes some bottle, that does.
Yeah.
He broke his hand, didn't he?
He
broke his hand after that because he chinned the support and broke his hand. I mean, I don't like him because he's from Scarlet and White, but I'm like, how hard have you got to be to go in the middle of that and put the flag in? That's like, that's what he wants.
Oh, absolutely.
And apparently, Brad Friedel said they were on the coach and the windows had been done in, and they were like this. And because all the windows had been done in, and the coach started going, and he looked up, and Souness was hanging out the window, screaming, "Come on,
Les, if for this show, Les, if you can get the thumbnail of Pardew or Carlo drinking the coffee when you put the show out, I think that's what it needs.
I'll get that on there. Yeah, just on Souness, there's a lot to dislike about him, but he was definitely a very hard man. And my favourite clip of him is when he's playing for Borough and he gets a grip of Jimmy Case, and Jimmy Case shits himself, and he's only about 19 then, I think, isn't he? Yeah. Souness, he's a young player at Middlesbrough. Jimmy Hardcase absolutely shits his kecks. It's a heartwarming moment. What happened afterwards? Forget all that. Right, quick. Another quick answer on this one from Rob. He's asked, important question is, what do you have on your pancakes, Warren?
Oh, I've got to show you this picture. Hang on a minute. So I had, I don't know if you can see that. Hang on.
Oh, is that bacon?
No, it's what that is, and I know people who are listening can't see this. That is banana, raspberries, and Biscoff, warmed Biscoff sauce.
Oh my God.
And I had that for my breakfast for 2 days, and let me tell you, protein and taste on a plate. It was incredible. So we should do pancakes more. So I can have that.
Something else, yeah.
Do you know what? In fact, Les, forget about the gif of Pardew dancing or Carlo drinking the coffee. I'll send you this picture.
Send me that.
Just put that up. That up as a picture.
Send me that. Do you know what? It'll be a nice test for YouTube as well to see if the thumbnail of food works better. Liam?
Normally I'm very basic. I love maple syrup. Really like Moose coffee, particularly the one on Hope Street, really nice. But I was lucky enough, and I'll send you a picture in a bit. I went to this a Michelin star restaurant in Canada, an Italian one when I was in Toronto called Viaggio, and they had this. It was Canadian pancakes mixed in as a tiramisu. So it was a giant tiramisu pancake, and it was the most opulent thing I've ever eaten. But it was just like, I'll send you a picture. It was incredible. And like Emma had found that on Instagram, and we made the mistake of going, we'll have one each. Don't know why, because you can't eat it yourself. But it actually had, should you have like a coffee taste to tiramisu? They had like a maple syrup blended with coffee, so you poured it over, so it was a bit of both, and it was just unbelievable. It was absolutely amazing.
I guess they take all that very seriously in Canada, don't they? It's like their thing, you know. It's got to be. Yeah,
it was very nice.
I'd go for ice cream on pancakes. I just think that's a classic combination, the hot and cold together.
It is a great shout. I had blueberries and honey this year, like a massive ponce. Chris asked, what's the one food you refuse to eat? Again, quick round robin this one. Warren?
Tuna. Disgusting. Smell, taste, the lot. Vile.
Fair enough. Liam?
With him, but there's two I can't choose between, and people are going to get outraged at this. Mayonnaise and gravy. Can't do either.
I mean, don't do them together, but separate. We're having words. Paul?
Carrots. I just see the point. I don't see the point of carrots. Well, what are they for? What purpose do they serve in life? Absolute waste. They're a waste of space on a plate.
And they don't make you see in the dark. I'm not.
No, they absolutely don't. Also nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't eat, to be honest. Maybe foie gras. Just because it's very unethical, but I've never been offered it, so yeah. Anyway, right, Stephen has asked, where's he gone? Oh yeah, Warren, trigger warning for you. Which celebrities you hate the most? Very boring question, but want to hear Warren Stephen Mulhern rant again. We could just do that.
Well, look, I know it's become a bit of a
theme. The good times, I'd like to add.
Whenever that man
he's a friend of the good times. Yeah, you got to be careful. Him and Kev like that.
Do you know what? It just
Kev said,
it just
Kev's
got
exact
me-
words were, he's like Warren but sound. That's what he said. And I wouldn't make something like that up.
Do you know what? I just happened to have, by accident, by the way, not through choice, Deal or No Deal was on the other day. And he does that now, doesn't he? Why they haven't got Noel Edmonds back, I don't know. But he was on that. And I can't remember the exact situation, but they had like 30 grand or whatever it was, and 10p and 500 quid. And he's there going, well, if you take away the 50p, you're in for a life-changing amount, and you're this and you're that. And I'm watching him going, you couldn't give one shite how this fella does, or you're in, and you're talking down the phone as if this bank is some serious. And I can't have him. I'm sorry. I know. It's just move on quickly because I'm going to get angry. It's Friday night. We should be happy.
All you've got to do is mention 2 words to Warren, and he goes dark. It's amazing. Liam, what have you got for this?
I'm sure I've mentioned it on previous mailbags, but in December 2010, we played Wigan at Goodison. It was a 0-0 draw, really drab. Rolly Stam had a good chance for them. But in Mark Lawrence's predictions that week, Idris Elba, he didn't get any reason. He just said Everton 2, Wigan 4. After 15 years, I refused to watch The Wire. I finally got around to watching The Wire. And spoiler alert, I was made up when he died. And the fact he was good.
Season 3 is the one for you, isn't it?
Did you see today?
I absolutely despise him. I remember hearing one of my mates actually went to see a thing he was doing a DJ set in the shipping forecast, and apparently coming like, I've just done this film called Mandela, and I was just like, he knocks me sick. And my co-host of the Good Times actually bought me, when we moved in as a house gift, a housewarming gift, because we have a little bar in our garden, he bought me a beer mat that is just Idris Elba on the beer mat, so you can go fuck himself as far as I'm saying.
I know what I'm getting in the Blue Room answer next year then.
Liam, what you could do, you could get your Idris Elba beer mat and put your Nelson Mandela salt shaker on it.
I like my liberty. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't own. I keep on trying to get rid of them. They're just in this house somewhere. And I don't know where.
I might have to research that picture with a thumbnail.
I was sorry to interrupt, Les. Did you see today that? I mean, I'm taking a slight serious turn here, but did you see that Lucy Connolly? You know, the one who
oh God, I'm
really for the tweet. Put a tweet out today saying about the criticism she always gets in the tweets is from Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
And they always seem to be Scouse Liverpool fans as well. So to counteract the hatred she's getting from them, she then signed the tweet off with "up the toffees" at the end of it.
And in a subsequent tweet, she said she's got family from Liverpool as well.
Yeah. She's got Scouse blood in her, she said, didn't she?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on from that. I just wanted to bring that up. Is this question seem the appropriate time?
We don't want any of that, do we? At all. Paul, what have you got?
Yeah, the person I can't stand is Ramesh Ranganathan. Every time I put the TV on, he's on a program, whether it's Sky, whether it's ITV, whether it's BBC, whether it's a quiz show, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a celebrity he's going to someplace never heard of. It's always him. And basically, he's an ex-maths teacher. I've never met a maths teacher in my life who's funny. So why he thinks he's funny, I don't know. I'm sure Warren will back me up on that. Have you ever met a maths teacher in your staff who was funny?
Yeah, no, you make a good point, actually, Paul. Yeah.
So how this guy's carved out a career as a so-called A-list comedian, I have actually no idea, because he's just not funny. And I just don't get why every time I switch on the TV, he's there. I won't say it's the fault was my screensaver who was on so often, but apparently he's not. But I just don't get him. Sorry that offends anyone, but he's
You're right. He said he struggles in Liverpool as well, didn't he? He said, and like he made Stephen Graham seem funny, and which is a tall order. But Stephen Graham was like, "We expect you to entertain us." Like, I've seen. We expect you to entertain us.
I've seen that clip, Liam. He criticises audiences in Liverpool, doesn't he? The reason they criticise me is because you're not funny. It's as simple as that.
His mate Rob Becker can leg it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Warren, just a quick one on this. Is Millsy a maths teacher?
No, he's PE like me.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
it would have been ideal. It would have been ideal if he was that.
Again, we're coming into the death throes of mailbag here. Quick one from Steve Sutton. Just a yes or no answer. Will the Raymond Activell jockstrap range be popular? Yeah, Paul?
No.
Liam?
No.
Warren?
At the risk of not understanding the context of this, I'm just going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no because I didn't quite get the context either. Right, we're gonna finish. Oh, so we didn't get a hot topic this week, did I? I forgot to do the hot topic. I was so caught up in the weekly mailbag crossover that I forgot to do the hot topic. So
the weekly doesn't have a hot topic, so that's where the blend, the twain meets, because that's how you start.
There you go. That's the one. But in lieu anyway of hot topic, Toffee Nose has asked, what's your favourite Prince song?
Raspberry Beret.
Oh,
Okay.
Warren. Yeah.
Yeah, Raspberry Beret.
Paul?
Little Red Corvette. Can you just say that Prince album, 1999 from the 80s, got the best side one of any LP from that decade?
Big shout.
Okay. Just elaborate on that. Go on.
Well, the first two tracks on the LP are 1999, Delirious, Little Red Corvette. It's just a fantastic side one of an album. Three classics together, absolutely superb.
Yeah, that is a shout, definitely. On that, I'm going to go Let's Go Crazy. I quite like that. Liam, I think I know what yours is.
Yeah, it's black and white, red and green. The funkiest thing you've ever seen. The Party Man. It makes that scene in the museum in Batman 1989. Although I want to give a big shout out for have you ever seen when he's on the Muppets and he's with the Muppets and they go, "What's for dessert?" Like Rizzo goes, "I bet you can't make a song out of anything else off the menu." And he goes, "What's for dessert?" And the elephant goes, "Raspberry sorbet." And he just looks at the camera and everyone starts laughing. He says raspberry sorbet, but like in the voice. It's really good. It just goes like that. He just goes and does it. He absolutely nails it. But yeah, Party Man for me, mate. It's unbelievable.
It is a belter. That is incredible. Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to throw Cream in there as well.
Yeah.
Because that reminds me of being in school. It's a belter song. And we will finish on this hot topic from the Denby. Which Everton player this season could be accused of willful misconduct, neglect, or breach of duty, and what for? Is it unfair to say number 16 for Everton?
I literally was about to punch the desk and say 16. like Phil Leotardo. Like very angry speech about number 16. Shout out, and I'm mindful of his mental health, and I really hope he's okay. But number 7's tracking back against Leeds was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? And they pulled this up at the time. It's the way he puts his head down.
Yeah.
So he's sprinting back, but just runs really slow with his head down. It's incredible.
I think the haircuts, the sign that haircut's telling you things aren't going well. That he's doing that. But I hope he's okay, because I do feel really, I do, doing a Lampard, I feel for him. But that tracking back against Leeds, I wasn't impressed with.
Yeah, and do sort out that short back and Agincourt as well while you're at it. Warren.
Yeah, no, I think, look, it's not personal, is it, what we're saying? But yeah, definitely 16 and 7.
16, 7. Sorry, I have to go there.
It's not a thing anymore. They cringe at it now if you do it. So it's over.
Paul, what have you got for this before we sign off?
Well, basically, on the premise that you can't go around hitting your own players in the middle of a football game, I'd have to put Garnegay in there.
Fair enough. Yeah. And as I put on record, I would happily not bomb him out the team, because that's a little bit unfair, but let's say phase him out of the team for the rest of the season.
Shout out for those pens against Sunderland as well for number 9 and number
14. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
9 and 11. They were incredibly impressive, them penalties.
Yeah.
That was genuinely the worst penalty shootout you could get, wasn't it? Like, it can't get any worse than that, can it?
It was the quickest ever. It was over in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They scored all 3. Just missed stars.
When you look at it like that, the Everton players know the crowd. We just wanted to get off at that point. So yeah. Well played. Right, that has been it for your weekly / mailbag. Hope everyone's enjoyed it. Hope everyone's still listening, by the way. We are 1 hour 49 minutes into it. Maybe split it into a few parts. It's all been good. I've enjoyed it. It's been a great start to the weekend. Yeah. So thanks to Warren for the weekly and for mailbag. Thanks to Liam. Thanks to Paul. Solid debut there, got to say.
Thanks, guys.
Really good stuff. So if you want to join the mailbag, let us know. I'll have you back on again, Paul, definitely. But yeah, that's been it for this week's mailbag. Thanks again for everyone who sent questions in. We will catch you next time.